La vida no se detiene cuando te enfermas. Las vacunas contra las enfermedades respiratorias pueden protegerte para que juegues con tu compañero fiel. Según tu edad y tu salud, podrían recomendarte vacunas contra la gripe, el COVID-19, el VRS o la infección neumocócica. Vacunarte puede ayudarte a seguir en el juego. Infórmate en cveep.org/ES/vacunas-protegen. Presentado por The American Lung Association y CBIP, combatiendo enfermedades respiratorias infecciosas.
Spend smarter or keep going broke. If you've been stuck in the boom-bust cycle, let this be your permission to slip. You're not lazy, you're not weak, you're not broken. You're simply learning a new rhythm, one that will actually sustain you. Hey, beautiful soul, and welcome to Dear Body, I'm Listening, the podcast for women navigating chronic symptoms, invisible illness, and that daily dance between hope and exhaustion. If you've ever been told it's all in your head, well, this podcast is for you because your body is not lying and neither are you. Hi, I'm Donna Piper, movement therapist, Pilates instructor, and chronic illness navigator. After years of being dismissed, misdiagnosed, and doing everything quote unquote right, but still getting sicker, I created this space to tell our truth. Here we talk about swelling, brain fog, nervous system crashes, and the kind of symptoms that don't always show up on lab results. We're going to explore lymph, breath, movement, self-trust, latest research, books, relationships, basically everything. All from a place of compassion and honesty. This isn't about fixing your body. It's about finally being heard and getting some answers. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Dear Body, I'm Listening. Today, we are tackling one of the hardest lessons I had to learn in chronic illness life, pacing, or as I like to call it, how not to spend all your energy in one target run. If you've ever had that one good day, you woke up feeling almost human again, and you decide to clean the kitchen, fold 6 loads of laundry, answer your backlog of texts, or even maybe go for a walk, only to find yourself flatlined in bed for 3 days after. Ugh, welcome to the boom-bust cycle. And here is the thing. It's not your fault. You've been conditioned your whole life to believe energy is endless, which there is a chemistry, scientific component to that, but it is not all about productivity equaling your worth and that rest is lazy. Your body is operating on a whole different economy. When you have any of these invisible illnesses, chronic fatigue, POTS, hypermobility, EDS, hypermobility spectrum disorder, obviously, what I said, chronic fatigue, and even lipedema, there's so much pain, or even if you have chronic pain, there's fibromyalgia, there's so many different levels and illnesses that when your body is constantly stressed and fatigued, the idea is to maybe push through it. But with our bodies, we have to do something different. And if you don't learn to budget, the bank will close on you. So today we're going to unpack why pacing is about safety, not slacking, how your nervous system interprets boom-bust as danger, and some real-life strategies I use to keep myself out of flare jail. So let's get into the real talk segment of our podcast today. And let's be real. I used to suck at pacing, and, sometimes I still do. I still haven't got it on lockdown. When I had a little energy, I treated it like a sale at Nordstrom's Rack. Oh my God, grab everything, do everything before it's gone. And then my body would pull the rug out and I'd be angry at myself. Why can't I handle this? Other people are able to work full days. Why can't I? Other people can clean their whole house, do so many different things. And I was used to doing a ton of different things and being very physical, and no longer I could do it. I just didn't understand. I felt like if I woke up with a lot of energy, I was going to have energy for days. I wouldn't slide back into not feeling like I didn't have energy. I couldn't even take a shower. But the truth is, all I was doing was having an inner dialogue, a shame spiral. And this was worse than the flare itself because instead of resting, I would spend my recovery days blaming myself. And here's the truth. I wish I had learned a lot sooner. Energy isn't a gift card you have to use up in one go. It's a budget. When you are dealing with an invisible illness, you have a budget. Some days you've got $100 and some days you've got 20. And some days you're in overdraft. I realized I had a choice: spend smarter or keep going broke. I had to learn this lesson the hard way in Pilates class. Before chronic fatigue and everything kind of imploded on me, I could power through any workout. Honestly, I thrived on it. I thrived on that feeling of being the strong one, pushing through, and I also thrived on being the good student. After the chronic fatigue hit at this level with all my other conditions that I actually knew now my body was screaming at me to take care of, everything changed. I would go to class feeling amazing during, and I would do the exercises and push through, and they didn't feel like I couldn't do them. And I'd get a little bit of an endorphin high thinking that after this, I'm going to feel like I always do, absolutely amazing. And the more classes I would take, the more I would feel better like I used to prior to all my conditions. But the truth is, I just got tired. I get so wiped out. And then for days I was wiped out and I couldn't understand what was going on. Like, this isn't how my body usually responds to doing Pilates. But now it was my norm. So at first I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just continue. Maybe I'm not conditioned enough. Maybe let's keep going and going. And then when it wasn't changing, actually I was stressing myself. So I was getting more susceptible to being sick. Then I thought, okay, I really need to switch my mindset that it wasn't about being disciplined enough or pushing through, that I was really being told by my body, hey, hold up, lady. And, it was something I didn't really want to hear. And not until I got officially diagnosed did it all click and make sense with chronic fatigue and having to do half of what I could do and perceived exertion and all these things that just didn't make sense to my brain and how I'd operate, but also in my foggy chronic fatigue brain either. So what finally clicked when I went to class is that realizing even if I could technically do the exercise in the moment, that didn't mean I should. And I had been preaching that to my clients for 25 years since I've been teaching, but I've never had to personally enact that sentiment. And then I also had to start skipping movements that I knew weren't supportive for me. Like, they'd be fine now, but I would pay for it later. And I would also have to cut my reps in half, do different modifications, and maybe even the hardest thing, giving my body and myself permission to rest in a room full of people still going, pushing through it. And let me tell you, that it was brutal. And it still is when I go to classes and I can't do this exercises. I know movement is good for me. And I even going and showing up and doing some movement. And I've always preached that, but it's been really a hard shift. There's also that unspoken social pressure in a class setting. Not everyone is paying attention to you, but the teacher is. And if you stop a lot, like, you just feel, even if they're really not looking at you, you feel like they are. And it's also an added stressor to a body that's already stressed. And I would get pressure from a teacher to keep up or saying I could do more or, try to give me harder settings or harder things. And it's embarrassing, or it was embarrassing for me to say, no, I can't do that. I shouldn't do that. I don't want to do that. Like, typically, my Donna self would be like, okay, yeah, give me more, of course, whatever you say. And I really had to change that in the moment for my preservation outside this 50-minute class. And for a while, every time I stopped, and sometimes like I said, I still do, I feel like I was failing. Like, everyone can see I wasn't keeping up. But once I learned more about my hypermobility aspect of this, especially because my legs were heavier. So I wasn't able to hold my body in position. I was getting more fatigue in exercise in areas that weren't normal for me, where I knew I was strong. I had to look into my hypermobility, and I'd have a nice discussion with the woman that I found, Dr. Melissa. She offers great online courses about hypermobility, everything, the whole spectrum, whether you're hypermobile or you have been diagnosed officially with EDS. And that really helped also give me permission. It was a nice validation of how I was thinking about I need to do with my body. But because of her program and how she broke it down, it also gave me permission to say, yes, like your body needs this, not what you're being asked to do in these other classes. So honoring that. And I finally clicked. I'm a little hard-headed, but pushing through was costing me way more than just sore muscles. It was costing me days of my life because I would flare up and like burn out, and then I would push, and then it would go longer and longer. And that shift, learning to listen instead of push, is what gave me back a sense of like control, and also feeling confident in what I was doing wasn't because I was lazy or tired. It was because it's actually healing me to do this. And just having that in the back of my head empowered me more to stop exercises in the moment or say no when I was offered to do a harder class or at harder. Because even though it looked like I'm able to do these things externally, internally, there's a whole other thing going on. And it's also what has inspired me to create my own Pilates. So I teach classical Pilates and I love it and I will do, but also cueing at a different pace for women with lymphedema that have heavier legs. Like when your legs are heavy, it's hard to lift one up, let alone do the whole thing, right? If you're listening to lymphedema, you know it. Or if you're listening to me and you have lipedema, you know, or even if you have heavier legs, it's not even a strength thing. It's like there's so much volume, it's very difficult. And your mobility changes, so it makes it more difficult. Same with chronic fatigue. Moving is a positive, like you want to move, but like how to figure out how much and what exercises benefit. So that's why I'm really gearing my whole Pilates career in teaching to not that you do less than, but you do it and it's cued in a different way where there's more space to honor your body. Because I really think women need more spaces where modifying isn't shameful, pacing isn't optional, and rest is built into the program, not treated like a weakness or like you have to, but it's actually the thing. That space in between is what actually is going to heal you, not just the exertion and the exercise itself. So let's get into our little truth serum education part of the program, which I like to call Let's Get Lymphatic. And let's break down the sciencey side. Your body has two main gears in your central nervous system, which is sympathetic, which is fight or flight, and parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. And every time you push hard, crash, then push again, your nervous system reads it like an emergency siren. She's in danger. Mobilize the troops. Histamine spikes, cortisol spikes, inflammation rises. Right? That's what the body does in order to deal with threat. It gets inflamed. Everything's on board. But when you have these invisible illnesses, it's like your car, like if anyone is old enough out there that's listening that remember manual transmissions, it's like your gears stuck in first. It's like, it keeps going and going, but there's no shifting into second through the gears to kind of get your engine where it's running smoothly. It's always first. It's always ready to go. And that in and of itself taxes the rest of your systems and your processes of because as Dr. Perry from Stop Chasing Pain always says, which is so true, which is why I think I was attracted to his method of teaching instantly, is no system gets sick alone and no system heals alone. And that's exactly what you're doing when you're constantly just having your body. And a lot of it's not even your doing. Your body is reacting. Your body doesn't feel good. There's things going on. So it's trying to help. So it's sending out all of these healing mechanisms, but actually when they get chronic, they start to go to the other side, right? So they're not helping you anymore. They're actually adding on to the bucket that's already full and just kind of continuing the cycle. And for those of us with lipedema, MCAS, POTS, chronic fatigue, hypermobility, EDS, the whole spectrum of hypermobility, whatever you have, our bodies don't reset easily. Let me say that again. For those of us with lipedema, MCAS, POTS, chronic fatigue, EDS, hypermobility, other invisible illnesses, our bodies don't reset easily. Instead of bouncing back after a push, our systems stay stuck in high alert. That means more swelling, more fatigue, more pain. So pacing is essentially a nervous system rehab. It tells your cells you're safe. You don't have to sprint and collapse. We can move into rhythms that are sustainable. And that's definitely a mindset shift too, that your body already knows. And that's why it's kind of putting you in these situations to make forcibly making you do this. But once you get aware of it, you change your mindset around things. And it's, it's a process. It's not something like, oh, I'm going to pace and it's easy. Like that's a joke, really. But it's really about now you're doing your own training mentally and emotionally to provide your body what it needs. So think of it like interval training, but for healing. You build rest into the rhythm so your system learns a new baseline. Over time, your capacity actually grows because you're not constantly throwing yourself into flare land. There's what nobody tells you. The pattern isn't about discipline or weakness. It's called post-exertional malaise. Now, it took me a while to even really be like, what are they talking about? I don't really even understand that term. So it's talked about a lot in chronic fatigue, so ME/CFS, also fibromyalgia. It does come up with hypermobility and POTS and even long COVID. And lipedema talks about some of it. I mean, more of it with lipedema is like it's harder to actually move, and so it fatigues you more. So it's a little bit different, but it does come up through all of those. And it means symptoms get worse after activity, sometimes not right away, but hours or even days later. So like for lipedema, it's more like standing. Sometimes it's just really hard to stand, like if you have to stand and then it gets worse. So it's a little bit different for each one, but basically you really want to look at how much you're exerting and then track, okay, I did X. How do I feel for the next 2 to 3 days? Because sometimes this stuff doesn't come up right away. You feel great. You'll do it again. You feel great. And then the thing you did 3 days ago, it's what's affecting you right now. And that's what really makes it so hard. You do feel fine in the moment, but you might be borrowing against tomorrow. And I have lived in that kind of overdraft cycle for the last several years, really the last 6 years since I got a viral pneumonia before all the COVID stuff. And then that kind of has like propelled everything and all of these symptoms that I didn't really know that I always knew I had, but I didn't know that was affecting me or was a thing you could treat. Has gotten worse. So I've really had to kind of dial back everything, especially since January when I learned that I had chronic fatigue. That's really when pacing and all of these things kind of started to come into focus for me. And also this spring, a few months later, so I got diagnosed in January. In April, I found an app called Visible, and it's a band you wear on your arm. And it's all backed by science. They have tons of different research. So it's a great just resource anyway to learn about the latest research that's going on for anything in the chronic fatigue and related syndromes that are out there. And it has a lot of high accuracy because it's designed. So it's not designed to move more. It's actually designed to learn how to rest and to pace yourself. And it gives you lots of different biometrics and things that I don't really use. I basically check it in the morning and see what my stability score is and if that aligns with actually how my perceived energy is, which a lot of times it is totally different. And then also it helps me pace. So it gives you points based on all of your symptoms and, this algorithm. and you try to hit into that pace. But the good thing for me wearing it, it showed me a lot of things that I thought were really taxing my energy, were hugely taxing my energy. So then I know where to put them throughout my day. And it also is like, it'll give you alerts and it'll like recommend that you rest. So think of it as like a pacing partner on your arm that says, girl, stop before you crash, or you're going to pay for this in a few days. And some days life isn't, it's just not practical. I need to do stuff. I have a time limit. I have to do it. And I may go way over my pace points. But then I try to reconcile that with taking it easy the next day, or seeing how I can readjust these pace points if it was something I didn't really realize that was killing my energy. And, they talk about, so I think I'm not familiar at all, but I've heard the term tossed around spoons, like how many spoons for the day. I really need to read all that information in those books. I'm sure it's wonderful, but I haven't read it. And I don't really talk in that kind of terms. Visible in their app, they talk about an energy envelope. So it's kind of the same thing. That's like, you want to just be in a range where you can function without tipping into a flare, right? And for all of us, that isn't obvious. And because PEM symptoms are delayed, you don't know if you've gone too far until you've already spiraling. And that's where the band in the app is brilliant. I do have a link. I'll put it in the bio. You could save $20, but I also get $20. So if you're not into kind of that thing, just go to their website and buy it straight from them. But if you want to save $20, there's also that link that I'll put in the notes. So it's really been a very helpful tool. And I've spent tons of money on different gadgets, and it's actually something I use every day. And I've really gotten used to kind of helping me figure out what I need and really what PEM is and the severity and how to improve the outcomes by tracking this exertion in real time. Because, I don't know about you, but with everything going on, with all my different symptoms, it's hard to kind of tweeze them all out. Also, with the brain fog and everything else that goes on, I just can't. It's just overwhelming when I was trying to figure it out before I got this. And I can look at my app, and if it's a good day and I do have a Pilates class, and if I do have laundry, or I have to go to Costco or whatever, I can kind of say, okay, so today I can do laundry and Pilates. And then tomorrow I can't do laundry, Pilates, or Costco, or any of them. And then if I do know I've pushed myself and then I end up having a flare for a few days, I know where it's from. It's not just like it's not just feels like it's out of the blue, or just woke up feeling like that. I can track and be like, oh, I went over my pace points, for 2 weeks straight. So of course so now that I have this week of like really feeling awful, oh, that's why. So how can I get back on track? So that's going to lead me into our myth buster moment of the week. And I think this is a big one. So let's really just blow this myth right out of the water. And that is, if you just push through, you'll build stamina. Okay. Well, that might work for marathon runners. And when I did run marathon runners and I was learning to run, yes, it did mentally. You do need that, right? But when you've got a connective tissue disorder, autoimmune issues, and chronic fatigue, or all of them, pushing through just digs you into a deeper hole. The truth is, rest is part of the training. Saying no is a part of the workout, and stopping early before the crash is the bravest thing you can do. Because here's the rebellious truth. So if you're rebels out there, is to rest, to put yourself first, to say no. We don't get badges for suffering, right? No one's handing out a gold stars for the most depleted woman in the room. So let's just stop that right now and ask for help. And if you're like me and you don't like to have someone help you, and you really would like to do this all on your own and build your energy up again, then rest now. Rest every day, build that in. And then when you start to feel better, and the rest is the healing aspect, then you could start going back to your day. But the more you push through, you're just delaying. and delayed. And I know that's true for myself and all the research and all the things I understand now that I had no idea before, because I really thought I'm going to build that stamina muscle by doing more. But my body is not in the space anymore, and it probably never was. And if I learned this years ago, I might have helped myself a little bit more. But, I'm 54. What's done is done. And now I'm just having to relearn. So with that, let's go into our feel-good flow. And let's try a little pacing practice right now. Close your eyes if you can. If you're driving or anything, obviously don't. But when you can, just place one hand on your heart and the other hand on your belly. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today without overdrafting my body? It might be a shower. It might be sending one email. It might be literally just moving from the bed to the couch, and that's enough. So give yourself like the one thing you can do without putting your body into a flare, and accept, okay, that's enough. That's the one thing. That's what I can do today, and I'm good. And now imagine your energy is like a jar of marbles. If you are into the spoon theory, you could do spoons or whatever you like in order to visualize this. And so every task, take some marbles out. Instead of dumping your whole jar by noon, what if you sprinkled them throughout the day, or even leaving a few in the jar for tomorrow? And that's pacing, that's partnership, that's saying, I belong in this body as it is today. And really coming to terms with that has really helped me. So just little things like this. I also have created a notepad that I'll show in my Instagram account, where I kind of brain dump everything that I have out that I need to do or want to do. And then I just select, I think, 5 or 6 things. And then I cut that in half and be like, okay, what do I need? What are my top 3? And then at the end of the day, I put in how I feel, like how many I've done. And then I have a companion piece to that where I write about how I feel about it. Because it's also a lot about how we feel about how much we do too. That shame spiral I talked in the beginning, feeling guilt about this, that really is a major piece of this that we need to shift in order to really get the most out of when we rest. So we're actually resting, not stopping because we have to, and then feeling bad about it. So if you've been stuck in the boom bust cycle, let this be your permission to slip. You're not lazy, you're not weak, you're not broken. You're simply learning a new rhythm, one that will actually sustain you. And if you want extra support, check out the Visible Band either on its own, and it has an app with it, or click on the link that I have. That's a referral link from me. Because this is not sponsored. I'm not getting anything from the company. This is just what has really helped me since April. And because sometimes data is the nudge you need to honor what your body has been trying to say all along, and to give you a real, me trying to visualize all the energy I'm going to put out and then do half, this wasn't really working. And here's the bigger vision. This is actually why I'm creating Pilates for lipedema and chronic fatigue, because women like us need a symptom where pacing is built in, modifications are celebrated, and movement is medicine, not punishment. I've spent my adult life and lots of money getting lots of degrees, doing things to really talk about how movement is medicine. So this is, let's say, the universe and all of my issues pushing me into this is where I would like to help women out and have them learn about their bodies. That's going to be coming very soon. And again, chronic illness is lots and lots of money. So it's really a nominal fee. It's like $10 a month to be in these classes and get support. Obviously, right now it's virtual, so look out for that. And if today's episode hit home, send it to a friend who's been good day rushing herself into a flare. And don't forget to follow me at the Donna Piper for more ways to move, heal, and belong in a body that deserves compassion. Until next time, remember, rest isn't quitting, it's healing. It's healing, it's healing. And sometimes the bravest thing you could do is stop before you crash. If this episode made you feel even more seen, brought you clarity, or reminded you that you're not alone, please take a moment to rate, review, and send it to someone who needs that same reminder. You can find more tools, blog posts, and support over at donnapiper.com. And hey, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Got a question for me? Every month I do a listener coaching episode, and I'd love to hear from you. Send your questions, stories, or flare-up confessions to donna@donnapiper.com. And you just might hear your answer on the show. Until next time, dear body, I'm listening, and I am so glad that you are here.
Stop wasting time scrolling through endless clickbait, social media, and emails trying to keep up with the news. Instead, listen to all the news you need in just 10 minutes.
Welcome to The Newsworthy.
The Newsworthy podcast makes it faster, easier, and more enjoyable to get unbiased news on the go.
It helps us navigate the news without feeling overwhelmed.
Even when my time is limited.
So much detail and information in 10 minutes.
Listen now by searching The Newsworthy in your podcast app or go to thenewsworthy.com.